Hi, guys. Greg Rock here with BPM Institute, and we're talking about strategic learning and development with Matt Donovan and Kevin Vautrinot from Excellair. And guys, congratulations on the ebook. I thought it was a great read, and I appreciate you guys coming down to share some of that wisdom with our members. And we work with a lot of folks that have started L&D groups recently, or they may have a fairly substantial one built up. And I know that you were able to uncover a lot of tips and recommendations for groups. So I guess the question is, would you recommend that our members evaluate and improve their L&D programs?
It's such a great question. So I think that if you're listening to this, and if you're thinking about this, you're ahead of the game. You're ahead of a lot of people that are in this space and a lot of other organizations. But it can be really intimidating to kind of be standing at the bottom of the hill, looking up at the top of the mountain saying, how am I going to get there? But really the first step is to ask yourselves these types of questions. They break down into kind of to two groups. You've got easy questions that I think more people would be familiar with, would think to ask themselves, but then there are some not so easy questions and some that you may not tie back directly to learning development. Is the first one really easy? Do you have big skills gaps? Do your people not have the skills that they need to be able to do their job or unlock the potential of that new technical system that you've implemented or the new process that you're trying to implement, things like that? And also, do you have a plan to close those skills gaps? Do you know how to?
And our suggestion for this really is you have to first understand what the processes you're trying to deliver are. So what is the way that your internal staff is actually delivering value, whether or not it's directly to a customer through some customer service management, or it's on your new IT platform. You first need to understand what is it that your staff is trying to accomplish. What are those processes that they're leveraging in order to deliver value? From there, what Excellair does is we actually use a thing called a heat map. And what we do is we evaluate the effectiveness of those processes to identify where there might be some underperformance. And you can actually look at a number of different lenses for that. You can look at a technology lens, a people lens, and just a general process lens. But from a people lens, you could say this process is underperforming. Well, why is that? And the answer usually is, well, they are missing some critical skill in order to be able to get the most out of that process, or maybe they're missing some skill to be able to leverage a technology to the highest of their ability. So that heat map will actually indicate the pain points across the organization. And that'll actually be how do you target what those gaps are. And from there, you can formulate your plan to close them. And now another question that we often ask is, do your investments in L&D generate real business value for the organization?
Yeah, and like we talked about with our client example, it's great if you're taking in the training requests, delivering the content, and doing the training, but like that smiley face at the end, that Kirkpatrick one, is not necessarily the best gauge of the value of your L&D program. It's really, what are the skills that you're trying to develop? Do they lead directly to business value? And at the end, looking at, okay, we did this training. What has happened from the business's perspective? What has changed? And do we need to adjust our approach and things like that? Because if you're not generating the business value, your strategic leaders won't be very happy with you, but B, the people won't be engaged. The people going to your trainings will not be getting value out of them at the individual level either. And I think that is in and of itself kind of the next question, which is, do you offer training at your organization or learning opportunities to your employees? Is that something that they can partake in, that you encourage at your organization?
So the last question is not so easy. It's actually a little bit more nuanced than we think it might be, but it's, if you do offer learning at your organization, is it something that your employees actually want to be a part of and actually to do, or is it something that they view as a checkbox?
Right.
And the answer there really depends on the culture that you're building within your organization. And that could be a whole nother series, I think.
Right. We'll have to have you guys back to cover that one.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But the idea of building a learning organization where people actually are trying to grow their skills and they view it as they're getting the skills necessary to grow within their organization, grow within their role, and provide better outcomes and experiences. I mean, having that mindset about it just goes so far in getting people to say, yeah, this is something I want to be a part of, versus saying, it's just something I got to show up to, put my name on a checklist and say, yeah, I attended.
Right. I think about trainings that I have been a part of earlier in my career, and there have been cases where the training was so divorced from the actual role that I was doing, or there was no value that I could get out of it, that some of my coworkers would just like fake phone calls and like come up with excuses not to attend because it actually made it harder for them to do their job by attending the training.
Right.
So like avoiding things like that and taking an honest look in the mirror. I think another problem is, or another question, do you have a problem with employee turnover? So if we come out and think about the answer to our last question, if you're not providing learning opportunities and opportunities for development and advancement, we talked about how younger employees want those things in their jobs and in their careers. Understand that if you're not providing them, they will get them somewhere else, and they will leave the organization. And the same can be applied to customer retention. Matt, you brought up earlier, like increasing the skills of your customers. If it's important for your customers to know how to use your software or your platform or your tool, it might be a good idea to invest in some learning content to help them unlock the value of it. Otherwise, they're going to say, why am I paying so much money for this? I'm not getting the value out of it.
Right. And the last thing is, and this is something that we've been working on a little bit behind the scenes in support of the ebook, is we're actually building a deeper assessment. And anyone watching this video, we highly recommend go out to our website. We're going to be publishing it up there. It's totally free to take. And what it does is it actually goes into a deeper level of questions that basically you say, yes, I think my company does this. No, I don't think my company does this. You rate your agreement to it. But it's a deeper level of questions that allows us, like we said before, to kind of start to create that heat map and show you where some of your pain might be. So again, highly recommend reach out to us anywhere or go onto our website, and we'd love to, show that to you and see if it helps any of the listeners today.
We're both on LinkedIn. Matt's name is easy, Matt Donovan. I won't spell mine out for you guys, but look in the comments or the description of the video, just copy and paste it.
All right, guys. Hey, well, from what we're seeing, these digital transformation initiatives that are underway, changing the company culture is a big component of that. And they're not going to be able to do that without an effective, learning and development program to support it. So that's one big thing. The second thing is you guys, as you were talking, I thought of a question. We've talked about the skills gaps a couple of times, and through the Institute, we provide some what I'll call lightweight self-assessments for practitioners to try to uncover some gaps.